One Bay Area Plan, now called Plan 2040. This is something that people like me, Catherine in the back, Ken, a lot of us have been fighting for many, many years. But in 2013, we got duped, and a group of unelected, self-appointed bureaucrats called ABAG. You have one here called SACOG. How many have heard of SACOG? Sacramento County of Government. They are unelected, self-appointed, and they are making all the rules now. This is not government by the people. This is government by the tyrannical. What they're planning on doing is not getting rid of the cities, as you heard, but merging them into powerful nexuses to where you are now part of the One Bay Area Plan, and you didn't even know it. And under this plan, what happens? When you merge cities, when you start sharing, which he said you're going to start sharing resources. When 101 cities and 9 counties in the Bay Area are now called one, what does that do to the electoral process? If you are not voting these people in, then what power does your vote have? Zero. There's a great video out there. I didn't include it. I should have now that I'm thinking of it. It's a woman named Kitty Worthman. She grew up in Austria. You can see this online. Kitty Worthman, Austria, Hitler. Look up those things. She grew up under Hitler, and she says, people think that Hitler, that we didn't vote for Hitler. They did. They elected Hitler into office. She described him as, you know what? He was nice. He was like an American politician. And what he started to do was something where he said, you know what? I'm going to appoint the best people to councils. I promise they'll be the best people. And what he did was brought regionalism in. Communism, Soviet, where the people's vote didn't matter. Now he was a radical environmentalist. But you know what? Our founding fathers, Patrick Henry said, I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know no way of judging the future but by the past. Experience is the oracle of truth, said Madison. In other words, our founding fathers knew from history what was going to happen, and they forewarned us. They said, you must pay attention to your politicians. Don't go to sleep, people. We were also warned that, and I may get some negative brownie points here, but we were also warned by George Washington that the destruction of America would be a two-party system. Why? Because as long as you have a two-party system, you have two groups arguing. And then we have to come into an agreement, a consensus, and that is how United Nations Agenda 2030 is being pushed through, by consensus. The Republican Party has moved further and further to the left, away from the U.S. Constitution, not to the Constitution, but away from it. This next video is back in 1992 when George Herbert Walker Bush was president. But the woman who authored this bill was our own Nancy Pelosi.
The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 353, concurrent resolution expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should assume a strong leadership role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit by developing a national strategy to implement Agenda 21 and other Earth Summit agreements through domestic policy and foreign policy.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H-Con Res 353, expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should assume a strong leadership role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. I now yield to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Pelosi, the sponsor, to explain the resolution.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. In fact, it is a very simple resolution, which the gentleman has just mostly explained. The Earth Summit Environmental Leadership Act, as this is known, presents us with an opportunity to follow up on the important work of the Earth Summit to develop its blueprint, Agenda 21, for global environmental action. HCON Res 353 outlines a comprehensive national strategy for sustainable development in accordance with the principles of Agenda 21. I urge my colleagues to support this resolution. We must make the promise of Rio a reality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman
How
from-
many have heard that Agenda 21 is a conspiracy theory? I know it's way more than the hands that are up right now. We hear all the time about conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat wearers. People who talk about Agenda 21 are called conspiracy theorists. I ask you, who is the conspiracy, what's a good word, originator? Who is the one who was pushing Agenda 21 20 years ago? Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of Republicans and a bunch of Democrats. How many understand what Agenda 21 is? I see some Can you please raise your hand if you know what Agenda 21 is? Okay, great. All right, let's do some Agenda 21 work then. In 1992, George Herbert Walker Bush soft-lawed Agenda 21 into the United States of America. It was just after the Rio Earth Summit in 1992. Followed by George Herbert Walker Bush soft-lawing Agenda 21 into the United States of America. What does that mean? What does soft law mean? It means that it wasn't ratified, but soft lawing, introducing it to the United States of America, would mean that we would have that policy here. They agreed upon the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. They agreed on giving U.S. money over to the United Nations in order to protect the environment. That is called a soft law. That when you may not ratify it, but you're supporting it. You're supporting it how? You're giving taxpayer dollars money to the United Nations for this effort. In 1993, President Clinton created Executive Order 12852. He created the President's Council on Sustainable Development. This book is a document by Clinton's President's Council on Sustainable Development. Page 6 of this book says, effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of all human society unlike anything the world has ever experienced, a major shift in the priorities of both governments and individuals, and an unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. This shift will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action be integrated into individual and collective decision-making at every level. So, every human action. What is something we are all doing right now? Breathing. That action would be integrated into every decision-making. Not just yours for the future, but that other people would be involved in your business of breathing. Under Obamacare, you know what? It's now my business if you smoke. Under a universal health care system, which is what they are going for by the year 2030, universal, worldwide, one government, one universal health care system. It is now my business that you are underweight. It is now my business you are overweight. It is now my business if you are a gun owner and you're taking antidepressants, because it's about a collective decision-making process.